Welcome back to Old School Sports and our Out of the Park Baseball 26 series, Rescue the Rockies. And after a busy 2025-2026 offseason, we are finally ready to get the baseball action underway here in the 2026 season. Opening day for our Rockies, and we are hosting the Pittsburgh Pirates. Tough matchup with Paul Skeens on the mound. Don't know why Aaron Ashby is listed as our starter. I guess Alcantara did pitch 4 days ago. He threw 17 pitches in spring training, so because he was working out of the pen. Because when he got back from the World Baseball Classic, I didn't take the time to put him back into the rotation. I missed that, so that explains why Ashby is getting the start. Have made one change since the last episode. Did put Hunter Harvey into the closer role. I had talked about not going with a closer at all. Stanley Rosella said that was something that he's never seen nor tried, and wanted to kind of see how that worked out. And I do kind of still want to see how that does work out. But I figured, and we talked about this at the end of the last episode, with the preseason prediction that we're going to be a borderline respectable team, and I really don't think we're going to get to 79 wins with this roster, but we did in the scenario that was run, so it's not impossible that we could get there or even a little better in the actual season. Figured it would be a little dispiriting to just not even have a closer assigned right when the season gets underway, and we're thinking maybe we can be a somewhat more competitive team than the 58 wins we had a year ago. So for the time being, Hunter Harvey is going to be in the closer role. As we've talked about, Austin Wells and Drew Romo, a couple of guys who we think are going to be pretty important to the team, should be coming back from injuries in the next week or so, at which point we will be making some more changes to the roster. Taking a look at the team schedule, start out with Pittsburgh, then an odd day off on a Sunday, and then 4 games at home against Arizona before we go on the road, and a ton of divisional matchups this month. Weird quirk of the schedule, we have 10 games against our division rival Diamondbacks in the first month of the season. And I'm guessing we probably don't see them for a long time. Actually, 2 more in May, and then none in June, none in July. Wait till August till we see them again for 3 more, and then 3 more in September as well. So very stacked with a lot of action against the Diamondbacks here for this coming month. And then we're also going to have the Dodgers, the Padres, and the Giants. So a good opportunity to see how we stack up against our divisional rivals outside of the 3 games at home against Pittsburgh. The only other 3 games that aren't against a divisional foe here in April will be at the Angels in a week and a half. And we did get a W on opening day against Mr. Skeens, of all people, then lost the other 2 games to Pittsburgh, so a 1-2 start. Taking a quick look, looks like there's a nice spike in fan interest on opening day of about 10 points. I have found that metric to be a lot more volatile in OOTP 26. Not necessarily saying that in a good way or a bad way, just something that I've observed. Certainly didn't expect that we would move from 53 to 64 just because the season got underway, but they do say that hope springs eternal. One other lineup point that I wanted to mention, another thing that was brought up by Stanley Rosella. He did note that particularly against left-handed pitching, when the young Rule 5 acquisition, Jared Cerna, is going to be in the lineup against designated hitters, don't really have a lot of infield flexibility with Bichette, Rosario, Vargas, and Tovar locked into their positions. Jordan Beck, who can play first base, is also in left field. So we certainly could be looking to bring up another infielder as we shift things around with the eventual returns of not just Wells and Romo, but maybe another guy as well. I think the logical guy that we would think about potentially bringing up would be Marco Luciano. Signed him to that minor league deal, but he can opt out if he's not promoted before day 30 of the regular season. So if we do decide that we need another guy who can play the infield for us capably defensively on this roster, the 24-year-old Luciano, who's working on his ability at third base right now in AAA, would be the logical guy, I think, to bring up to address that issue. So certainly could see some churn on the 26-man roster and perhaps even the 40-man roster over these next few weeks, because we did have to add Danny Jansen and Michael Conforto, who were both guys we signed to minor league contracts, to the 40-man when the season got underway. So the 40-man is completely full right now. So if we're going to be making some more moves to bring guys up to the 26-man, in the case of guys who are also minor league free agent signings like Luciano, may have to be waiving and DFAing some guys as well. Oh, and my stupidity, of course, the reason we got that bump was that we started the charity. So perhaps the fan interest metric is not as volatile as I thought, although as I noted, it does seem like it's a little more movable here in OOTP 26 than it was in previous versions of the game. But I had forgotten that at the end of last episode, Cole Carrig asked us to start a charity, and we had our owner make a big donation to him. So that, of course, is the reason for the increase in fan interest. Nice to get that bump, and hopefully it will help us with attendance going forward. And Drew Romo is back and healthy. That's the good news. Bad news is we've dropped 3 straight in the series at home against the Diamondbacks, so off to a 1-5 start with 5 straight losses after that opening day win over the Pirates and Paul Skeens. Romo obviously back in the lineup as our starting catcher. That puts Hunter Goodman into a DH role, and what that means is Cerna is now a pure utility infielder for us, not in the starting lineup anywhere, so hopefully alleviates a little bit of the pressure on the AI manager if we do have a in-game injury to the infield or need someone with a day off, so probably a little less pressure to bring up another infielder over the near term, although I still would prefer that Luciano does not opt out of that contract we gave him and go to another organization. So we'll certainly keep an eye on him over the next few weeks. The other move that we ended up making, Drew Gilbert, the Rule 5 acquisition out of the lineup, was going to be him or Conforto, with Goodman sliding into the DH role and Romo going into a catcher role. Needed to pull a hitter out of the lineup, and Gilbert, in the admittedly small sample size of just 4 games, was only 1 for 12 for us with 6 strikeouts, while Michael Conforto has actually been reasonably productive, 5 for 15 with a couple of homers and 5 ribbies. I'd call a 201 WRC plus actually more than reasonably productive if I'm going to be honest about it. So for the near term at least, Conforto outplaying Gilbert, and with Austin Wells on the verge of returning, that early season performance among the two of them could end up being a big determinant of what decision we make. It's definitely not inconceivable that we could be moving on from one of our Rule 5 picks in the case of Gilbert rather soon, and potentially sending him back to the New York Mets organization. And another day, another loss. We've now lost 6 in a row at home to get off to a 1-6 start in this season, and Mr. Wells is now healthy and well, so interested in having him on the team, but certainly not feeling great about the start to this season, although it is the very early going. And with Wells back, we did decide to move on from Mr. Gilbert, the Rule 5 acquisition, and return him to the Mets. Wells going to go into the lineup against right-handed pitchers. We shift things around. Pasquantino moves up to the 3-hole, swap him with Goodman, so we separate the lefties a little bit, hopefully give a little bit of protection to some of the righties in our lineup. We actually took Jordan Beck, the right-handed hitting young outfielder, out of the lineup against righties, going to keep Conforto in, so we do have those 3 left-handed bats, in addition to the switch-hitting Romo in the lineup against righties. Hopefully, between Wells and Hunter Goodman, we can handle the backup catching for Romo. Goodman is in the lineup every day as a DH. Wells in the lineup as a right fielder against right-handed pitching, but with Wells having regular days off against left-handed pitching, and Goodman hopefully not working himself too difficultly physically, playing DH more often than not. I would hope that when Romo does need an occasional day off between Goodman and Wells, we've got the capabilities to still have a legitimate major league catcher behind the plate. And it looks like maybe we just needed to get away from Colorado to start playing better. Took 2 out of 3 against the Angels, so we won our first series of the year and also ended the 6-game losing streak. That said, at 3-7, although we're off to a better start than the real-life Rockies here in 2025, we are winning at a lower pace than we ended up winning a year ago. So hopefully we can do better in these upcoming series, particularly on the road against the Diamondbacks, than we did against our divisional rival at home. And the pool for the rookie draft finalized and official now, as we've talked about in previous episodes. Even though we did have the worst record in baseball last year, got a little bit unlucky, dropping to 5th in the first round for our overall selection. Taking a quick look and a way too early look, given that we've only got average scouting accuracy on a lot of these people. Between Derek Turner, Gabe Gackle, Ethan Wheeler, C.J. Sampson, and Chandler Hart, some pretty potentially high-end pitchers to consider. And then position player-wise, some names that are at least a little more familiar to me. At the top of that list, Alex Harrington, Brady Harris, and Kevin Roberts Jr. With the highest ratings, Zion Rose in the pool as well. Hopefully we'll get to know these guys better. Hopefully as we get higher scouting accuracy, we will feel more confident in hopefully identifying 5 players that we really like, in which case one of them will certainly fall to us. Have a feeling it's going to be a situation where there's really 2 or 3 guys that we really like, and we're going to be hoping that one of those 2 or 3 guys happens to fall to us with pick number 5. And the Diamondbacks continue to have our number, taking the first 2 games of this series in Arizona. We scored only 1 run in the 2 days. Also have some injuries. Anthony Molina, who's put up a 7.50 ERA in 6 innings pitched over 4 games with us, out with a strained hammy. So we'll be sending him on the IL. And then I think we're also going to put Bo Bichette on the IL as well. Hitting .222 in his first 45 at-bats with Colorado. Day-to-day with a hyperextended elbow, but it does have a moderate impact on his throwing. And with the fact that we have moved on from Jansen and Gilbert, we do have spots on the 40-man roster. So my thought is we'll bring Marco Luciano up now, get him a little bit of major league experience, lock in that major league contract with him, and then we'll be able to send him back down to AAA after that if we want, when Bichette is healthy. since Luciano still does have options and he will have locked in that major league contract with us at that point. And with the injury to Molina, we brought Carson Palmquist up. Will give us a second lefty in the pen. Palmquist started 13 games for us a year ago, but with the possible improvements that we've made to our pitching rotation, got caught up in a numbers game and sent down to AAA to start the season. Speaking of the additions, Sandy Alcantara, Alex Cobb, and Clayton Kershaw, the three external additions to our rotation, are all pitching reasonably well. Perhaps not surprisingly, the holdovers, Andy Ashby and Ryan Feltner from that 58-win team, are the guys who are struggling. Rule 5 acquisition Bobby Miller has done fine for us, allowing 1 earned run over 3 1/3 innings, so he hasn't had a ton of action yet. Gilbert Gonzalez commented on this and kind of agree with him that at some point Miller probably takes over for Feltner, or I guess possibly Ashby with the way Ashby is picking. But given that Feltner in particular was really good with us a year ago, going to give him more than a couple of starts before potentially moving on to Miller. With Bichette going on to the IL, we've moved Brenton Doyle, the center fielder, up to the leadoff role. We did bring up Luciano. Cerna and Luciano are going to be platooning for us at second base for the time being. And we'll make another roster decision, hopefully in about 10 days, when Bichette should be healthy and well. And 20 games into the season, still really struggling with a .300 winning percentage at 6-14, and we had to win 2 in a row against San Diego to take that series just to get the record to 6-14. Already 7 games behind in the division, so while it's not as horrible a start as the Rockies experienced in 2025, certainly a disappointing start to the season. Bichette is ready to come back and healthy. Not surprisingly, the 10-day stint on the IL ended up being overkill, but as I said, it did let us lock in the contract with Luciano, and now we can either send him down to AAA or perhaps move on from Mr. Cerna. And we sent Luciano back down to AAA for some more seasoning there. Going to keep Cerna on the roster since as a Rule 5 pick, he's got to be on the roster if we're going to retain him. He has not been good, hitting just a .128, but only had 39 at-bats, a very small sample size, and still think he could become a useful major league infielder for us down the line. And after winning that series against the Padres, we took 2 out of 3 in San Francisco against the Giants. So 2 consecutive series wins in a row is a small measure of progress. 3 left in this month against Arizona. 0-7 against the Diamondbacks this month. So we're actually exactly a 500 team when we don't have to face the Diamondbacks. Unfortunately, we have faced them 7 times already here in the month of April. Would certainly love to get through finally and get a W against them. Would actually love to get 2 Ws against them and take a 3rd straight series. Going to be doing it with a bit of a hand tied behind our back. Hunter Goodman got suspended for 4 games, and he's only missed 1 of them right now, so he's going to be out for the series with the Diamondbacks. Goodman this year, off to a solid start, .273 average, 3 homers and 7 ribbies. 111 WRC plus for our regular DH, who helps in a catching or a corner outfield spot in a pinch when we need him there. And as you probably also noted, Brenton Doyle is injured, diagnosis pending to the shoulder for the center fielder, so that could be another loss for us. He's hitting .240 with a couple of homers and 6 ribbies. 70 WRC plus in the early going, but certainly is a very talented defensive outfielder who will be missed out in center field if this ends up being a significant injury. And we did fortunately win the first game against Arizona 4-1, and the news could have certainly been worse on Brenton Doyle. Shoulder tendonitis was going to impact him for close to a month. Moderate impact on his throwing, but I think we'll just deal with that in center field. Certainly there will be time to time when someone will be trying to tag up on him, and not going to be an ideal situation for that to impact his arm, but don't think it's going to be something that wants us to keep him out of the lineup for an extended period of time, given how valuable he is with his excellent range out in center field and his speed on the base pass, although he has only stolen one base for us thus far here in 2026. And we lost game number 2-1 to the Diamondbacks, but Clayton Kershaw continues to pitch reasonably well for us. 2-2 record with a 4.56 ERA. The reason I note him, though, 4 strikeouts today. Avery Sham, among others, will be interested in this, but with those 4 strikeouts today, Clayton Kershaw now in the 3,000 strikeout club for his major league career, here with the Rockies and not the Dodgers in 2026. And unfortunately, we ended up losing the last 2 games to Arizona. So we finish the month of April with a unimpressive 9-17 record, obviously in last place, 6.5 games behind the Dodgers. At 9-17, we are half a game better than the White Sox, who we were battling for the worst record in baseball last season. The worst team in this baseball this year is the Orioles. That team, so far, both in real life and certainly here in 2026 in OOTP, has not become the team that many of us thought the Orioles might become 2, 3, 4 years ago with all of the young talent they had coming up through their organization. Bit disappointing to see what was once a proud franchise really struggling to maintain relevance in not just the American League East, but with a 7-18 record, all of baseball in a way. And before we move on to the month of May, take a quick look at the team statistics. Our 9-17 record is actually 1 game better than Pythagorean expectations, so that's not ideal. Rank 14th in the National League in runs scored. Certainly not what you want to see when you're playing half of your games in Colorado. And we are in the bottom half of the league in every major offensive category. I guess we're right technically in the middle in hits, ranking 8th. 11th in steals, 12th in base running. The defense is not good as well. Pitching staff tied for 13th in runs allowed. That's actually progress from last year when we were dead last. 6th in the league in pitcher WAR, 8th in home runs allowed, a bit surprisingly, but generally in the bottom half of the league of the pitching statistics as well. So the season has not gotten off to a good start. Starters ERA of 4.26 is borderline respectable, but the bullpen ERA ranks 13th, which is a bit surprising because we did make a couple of key additions to the bullpen this year, and our bullpen was respectable last year, but perhaps we just got a little bit lucky. And our schedule for the month of May looks a little more balanced. Still a fair amount of division games, 3 at the Dodgers, 3 home against San Diego, couple at home against our nemesis Arizona Diamondbacks, and then we'll finish off the end of the month in beautiful San Diego. And since the last time we checked in on the pitching, everything has gone the other direction. Alcantara, Cobb, and Kershaw have not been pitching as well, while Ashby and Feltner have been pitching better. So really the entire pitching staff is, as far as the rotation, his ERAs between the high 3s and the mid 4s, so respectable as we've talked about. Hunter Harvey has been a disaster as a closer with a 7.45 ERA, so we're going to go back to not having an assigned closer. Halverson or Harvey can close when we need one, but we're winning so few games that having a guy with an ERA of close to 8 out there in the few opportunities that we get, definitely not helping us. A 0-3 record, and he's had only 2 shutdowns and 3 meltdowns. So certainly has not worked out the way that we would have hoped for him in the closer role, and we'll let our manager have a little more discretion as to what he should be doing in the interesting portions of the game. And a surprisingly good start to the month of May, sweeping a good Phillies team at home, 6-4, 5-2, and 3-2 victories. So the pitching, particularly in Colorado, remains better than it was a year ago. Hopefully we can keep some of this momentum going and be closer to a 500 team here in the month of May. And our Rockies have started to play a little bit better here in the month of May, pulled the record up to 18-24, and we are actually out of the basement in the National League West. Most recently, we took 2 out of 3 at home against the Mets, and then 3 out of 4 at home against Minnesota in what has been a very successful homestand for us now. We'll see if we can keep the momentum going against those dreaded Diamondbacks. Sorry to Peter Hooper for having to show you this, but the team that we're now ahead of in the division is the San Francisco Giants, although it's really just by percentage points in the standings. But still nice to be listed as 4th place team in the division for the first time in this just about exactly a year that we have been playing as the general manager of the Colorado Rockies. Orioles still in last in the AL East, but the White Sox, who are really slipping with a 2-8 record over their last 10, are now clearly the worst team in baseball here as of May 18th, 2026. And of course, we lost our first game to the Diamondbacks, which I believe drops our record against them this year to 1-10. Molina finally healthy. We're going to put him on a rehab assignment, although Hunter Harvey is now injured with a diagnosis pending, so it's not inconceivable that we may need to be making a move to the minors sooner rather than later to bolster our bullpen. And a free agent from this offseason who got a little bit of attention from the worldwide scouting department, Takayuki Ryu, who we signed to a minor league contract. The 33-year-old has been pretty brutal in AAA Albuquerque. 2-1 record with an ERA of 7.20, slightly below replacement level. Has given up 5 home runs in just 15 innings pitched for us. Out for the last several days with a dead arm. We'll see whether he becomes someone who's in the mix to be called up down the line, but right now the veteran hasn't done anything to suggest to us that he deserves a spot on even our meager 26-man roster. And unfortunately, a pretty significant injury for Hunter Harvey, ulnar nerve entrapment. He's going to be out for 4 months, so for all practical purposes, it's going to end his season. May see him again in September, but we will likely not be playing for anything at that point, so he likely finishes his year in Colorado with a 2-5 record, 4 saves, 6.43 ERA over just 21 innings pitched. Hoping he would be a guy who would help stabilize the bullpen, but it definitely has not worked out that way. Team option for him for $4 million next year. We did front load the contract a bit. Odds are at this point we'll be taking advantage of that $400,000 buyout and looking to invest the money more wisely this upcoming offseason. And things have gone a bit better since the last time we checked in, won the game against Arizona, so we ultimately ended up with a really nice homestand there, long homestand too, even though we lost 2 out of 3 to start the series against San Diego. We were then really good, losing just one game to the Mets, one to the Brewers, and one to Arizona. And we also won the first game of our road trip to Cincinnati. So when I check in on the middle of a week like I'm doing right now, just a couple of days after the last time I checked in, typically means something has happened, and more often than not, it's not good news. Looks like Clayton Kershaw's season is definitely over, and it's not inconceivable that his career is over. Torn rotator cuff, Kershaw going to be out for a year. Ends his brief foray in Colorado with a 2-3 record and a 5.60 ERA over 35 and a third innings pitched. Was slightly above replacement level when all was said and done. We knew he was wrecked physically when we brought him on board, but the price tag was not that high, and he is also an extremely popular player who we got a boost from bringing on board. But would have to think that for a guy who will be 39 years old by the time next year begins, that he may be rethinking his career, although you look at his ratings, and if he comes out of this with similar ratings to what we think he has right now, wouldn't shock me if he continues to try to look for an opportunity to continue his career next year at the age of 39. Odds are, however, that it will probably not be with the Rockies. And with the injury to Kershaw, we brought Molina back from that brief rehab assignment he was on in AAA, and we're also promoting the Rule 5 pick, Bobby Miller, into the rotation. 2-0 record with a sub-4 ERA over 23 innings pitched for us. Might as well see what the former Dodger can do. They were not impressed with him with an ERA of close to 6 last year. And with a stacked roster, he was available for us in the Rule 5 draft. Happy to bring him on board, and we'll see what Mr. Miller can do with the opportunity to be a starting pitcher for this Rockies franchise every 5 days. Unfortunately, the injuries to the pitching staff just keep coming. This one less serious, but Angel Chivili, who was our lone all-star last year, going to be out for 2 weeks with an oblique strain. He's 0-1 with a 5.24 ERA this year, so definitely showing that all-star appearance a year ago may have been a bit of a mirage. As we talked about when we started off this series, and we also did our tutorial video on the settings that we would be using, we did bump up the injuries in this world to the current major league parameters. So that's a notch higher than the standard. Figure that would give us something else to deal with. And with the significant injuries that we have had in the early stages of this season, it does seem like that little bump up in the injury probabilities is impacting us, and I'm sure it's impacting the other teams as well. And with that additional injury to the pitching staff, we're going to bring up one of the better prospects in our organization, Braden Nett, the 68th ranked prospect in baseball. Picked him up just over a year ago when we got this playthrough going underway from the Padres organization. No question about his stuff. I think it's definitely major league quality. The issues with him are going to be his control, and is he going to give up too many home runs? He has not been impressive at the end of last year or the beginning of this year in AAA Albuquerque, but that is playing in the Pacific Coast League, so you have to take some of the statistics with a grain of salt. Despite the 7.67 ERA last year and the 5.48 ERA this year, he has been an above replacement level player both times in AAA. Certainly concerned about the lack of control, but he's almost 24 years old. Not really sure how much more development he's going to get in AAA Albuquerque, so we'll bring him up and see if he can sink or swim working as a long reliever initially for us here in the major league club, and he will be our emergency starter in the event that we need one. And the last bits of the month of May went respectably for us. So we ended up splitting 4 games in Cincinnati, lost 2 out of 3 to the Mets in New York, but we did win 2 out of 3 in San Diego. So a 24-30 record as of the end of the month. And we're now tied for 3rd in the division, percentage points ahead of the Padres, 2 games up on the Giants. So we are borderline respectable. Taking a look at the leaderboard, not surprisingly, don't see any Colorado players among the top leaders in either hitting or pitching. Looks like Mookie Betts, Juan Soto, Ronald Acuna Jr. Among the players having the best seasons in the National League this year. No surprises to see those names there. Sure that the Mets fans are happy to see Virtual Soto having more success in his second year in Queens than he has had in his first year thus far. Taking a look at the team statistics, 13th in runs scored, which is sadly a slight improvement. Last in the league in on-base percentage, though, which is one of the things that the ownership wanted to see us improved. The pitching definitely much improved this year, though, ranking 10th in the league in runs allowed, and our starters ERA ranking 8th, right in the middle of the pack. And again, pitching so many games in Colorado, if we're middle of the pack in starters ERA, that's probably a pretty decent result, especially given where we are in the evolution of this team. We ended up 15-13 record in the month of May, so a winning record in May. We have still gotten a bit lucky. 24-30 record is 3 above Pythagorean expectations. So hopefully we'll play better going forward. Would love to see what Mr. Net can do for us. But all things considered, it's a respectable start to the season after a 58-win team a year ago. My hope was to get this team up into the mid-60s, and certainly seems like we are on pace to do that, if not perhaps a little bit more. But it is still a long season ahead of us. As we've talked about, we've had some significant injuries, losing 2 of the 5 veteran pitchers that we brought over through trades or free agency already. Hopefully we can be somewhat healthier, particularly with the pitching staff over these next 4 months of the season. But as we sit here on June 1st, can't really complain about how things have gone for the Rockies. Next time around, we'll continue to sim forward. We will do our mid-season review, and we will sim all the way up to the draft and see who happens to be on the board for our Colorado Rockies with the number 5 overall pick here in 2026. Until then, thanks so much for watching, and hope you have a great day.